A little boy defended his mom from a rude waiter, and his mother woke up the following day to a chilling note in his bedroom that said her son was gone. Heather and her 7-year-old son, Matt, met their family lawyer, Mr. Murphy, at a popular cafe. "I have some amazing news for you," he said, and quickly confirmed her grandmother had left her $400,000. He talked about filling out some paperwork, but they were interrupted by the waiter's sudden shout. "Hey, watch it, kid!" Kyle frowned and leaped back in disgust when Matt accidentally dropped the glass he held, splashing cola on the waiter's shirt and shoes. "Oops, sorry, sir," Matt mumbled. "Look what you've done," the waiter complained. "Accidents happen, sir," Matt argued. "You don't have to bark at me for it." "What did you say?" Kyle asked angrily. "You better watch your words, kid." "Excuse me, my son did it by mistake," Heather interrupted, diffusing the situation. "I apologize on his behalf." "Can't you control your freaking kid? Is that how you've taught him to speak to people older than him?" Kyle barked at Heather before making another bold remark. "That's some grade A parenting right there." Kyle slowly clapped sarcastically. "What a delightful mom." The waiter's words filled little Matt with anger. He may have been only 7, but he was not one to just sit and watch some random guy insult his mother. "Don't you dare talk to my mom like that." Matt rose from his chair, staring fiercely at Kyle as he slammed the table hard. The boy's hands gripped the little ceramic vase sitting at the center of the table and hurled it at the man. "What the hell? Your kid is out of control," Kyle roared. "I'll make sure he learns some manners." The cafe manager intervened and the waiter stormed away. Heather headed home quickly afterward, not wanting to give the restaurant her business. Heather went through her regular morning routine the following day, but Matt had yet to come down for breakfast when it was ready. Odd. "Matt, you'll be late for school. Come eat your breakfast," she called. It was dead silent upstairs, so she went to see if Matt was still sleeping. She froze after opening his door. Her son was not there. His bed sheets and pillows were rumpled on the floor, but he was gone. There was a note on his bed with the most chilling words. "We have your son. Do you remember we promised to make sure he learned some manners? If you want to see your son again, leave $400,000 in the yellow trash can outside the City Park gate tomorrow evening at 5. Don't go to the cops or you won't see him again." "This can't be happening," Heather cried. She remembered the waiter using these words yesterday, so she grabbed her purse and raced out of her house straight to the police station. Heather walked up to the entrance of the police station, but her phone buzzed. The message read, "Where do you think you're going?" She stopped cold. "We warned you not to go to the police. We are watching your every step. One more mistake and it's bye-bye, Maddie." She looked around, scared, and finally turned back to her car. Her fingers dialed the number that sent those messages, but it was a virtual number. Useless. Desperate to find Matt, she confronted the waiter and drove to the cafe. She scanned the area, but the waiter was not around, so she approached the manager. "Excuse me, sir. I was here yesterday afternoon." "Oh, yes, ma'am. What can I do for you?" the manager replied. "I came to apologize to the waiter for yesterday's conflict. Could I please meet him?" Heather added, her tone laced with worry and urgency. "Oh, but he's not here anymore." The manager looked Heather in the eye. "I fired him." "I understand, but could you please give me his address? It's important." Puzzled, the manager found the address and gave it to her. As Heather approached the waiter's house half an hour later, a creepy feeling overwhelmed her. "Hello? Anyone home?" she shouted, knocking hard on the door. No answer. Her hands reached for the doorknob, which gave way quickly. "Anyone home?" The house was utterly silent, but there were signs of struggle everywhere. A broken vase, an upturned table, shattered plates, and a knife on the floor. Her skin crawled, worrying about her son, but nothing in the house gave her any clues. She ran to the neighbor's house and knocked. An old woman, Doris, answered with a smile. Heather introduced herself as Kyle's girlfriend. "When did you last see him? I can't reach him," Heather asked. "I saw him early this morning, dear. I looked out my window after hearing strange noises from Kyle's house. I saw him with a strange man. Kyle was drunk because the man had to lift him and put him in his car, and then they drove off." "Do you remember how this guy with Kyle looked? Do you remember anything about the car?" "It was a huge black car, dear. An SUV," Doris added. "Thank you so much," Heather said and hurried back to her car. With time ticking away, Heather decided to fulfill the kidnapper's demand and immediately drove to her lawyer's office to get the paperwork done to claim the $400,000. "I'm so glad to see you. How can I help you?" Mr. Murphy said, pleased. "I want to sign all the paperwork now, Mr. Murphy, and I want the money." "All of it." transferred to my account immediately once the formalities are over," Heather said, desperate, but something in the lawyer's face caught her attention. "Oh, Mr. Murphy, what happened to your lip?" "Nothing serious." Mr. Murphy dismissed it. "Some hooligans tried to rob me. Not to worry. I escaped. Let me get your documents ready." After signing the paperwork, she thanked Mr. Murphy and grabbed her handbag. Just as she was about to leave, a black SUV pulled over outside the lawyer's office. She stood still, staring at the car and recalling Kyle's older neighbor's words. Her instincts pricked. Her eyes went to Mr. Murphy's face. Aside from a busted lip, he had subtle bruises as if he got in a fight. She remembered the state of Kyle's house. Coincidence? "Are you all right?" the lawyer asked. Yeah, I'm fine," Heather stuttered. "Can I please have some water?" "Sure, one sec." Mr. Murphy turned. Heather acted swiftly and tossed her fitness band, activated with the GPS tracker, into the inside pocket of Mr. Murphy's coat hanging on the stand. He gave her water, they finished the paperwork, and she left. The following morning, Heather woke up to a message from her bank revealing the funds were ready. She rushed to get everything ready, and by 4:45 p.m., she arrived at City Park, spotting the yellow bin at the entrance. Checking that no one was looking, Heather tossed the bag inside. She went back to her car and drove off. But she had her phone and opened the fitness band app, locating the GPS section. Mr. Murphy was heading to City Park just then. "Jesus, it's him!" Heather was in disbelief as she turned around. When she noticed Mr. Murphy's car driving away from the park, she discreetly followed him. Heather kept following Mr. Murphy into a deserted area of town. His car turned onto a secluded road leading into a thick forest. "I can't drive any further," Heather thought, pulling over and followed on foot, using her tracker. She arrived in an abandoned cabin and looked through the broken windows, but it was too dark. She slowly opened the door and quietly crept inside, cringing when her shoes cracked against the glass on the floor. "Are you looking for someone?" A cold, menacing voice spoke from behind. "Oh my God, ... it quote S-U," she shrieked. A sharp blow landed on her head. Mom, wake up." Heather could hear Matt's voice calling out to her. Her eyes opened, adjusting slowly. When they did, she saw little Matt and Kyle tied to a wooden pillar opposite her. "Matt? Oh my God. Sweetie, are you all right?" she cried, realizing she was cuffed to a chair. "What an idiot you are, Heather," Mr. Murphy emerged. "Did you think I didn't know you were following me?" "I was going to finish just the two of them after getting the money and frame a missing Kyle for Matt's murder, and now I have no choice but to kill you too," the lawyer chuckled as he pointed the pistol at Heather. "The money in that bag is fake," Heather cried. "What?" Mr. Murphy's eyes bulged. "Don't try to trick me." But Heather was telling the truth. "Where's the real money?" he roared. "In the bank," Heather revealed. "I bought fake money." "You think you can mess with me, Heather?" Mr. Murphy sneered. "Your son's fate is in my hands now." The lawyer approached a terrified Matt and untied him. "Please let my son go, please," she begged. "You'll pay the price for fooling me." The lawyer dragged Matt up the cellar's wooden stairs. "I'll return with the papers. I need you to sign over your bank account. Your son is my insurance now." Heather and Kyle remained locked in the cellar, but he told her to come closer, grabbed a hairpin from her hair, and unlocked himself, then her. She marveled at his skills. "When he comes back and opens the door, I'll go first, all right?" Kyle devised a plan. "You have only a few seconds to charge at him before we can take your son and escape." Heather nodded, scared, but this was their only chance, so they waited. They heard his car pull outside an hour later and took their places. When Mr. Murphy climbed downstairs, Kyle pounced on him and locked his hands from behind. "Come on, quick! Do it! He shouted out loud. As chaos erupted, a loud bang startled Heather. Mr. Murphy pulled the trigger and shot Kyle in the leg. With all the strength she could muster, Heather struck a hard blow to Mr. Murphy's head with a heavy metal pipe. "He's out! Quick!" Kyle shouted, limping as they both handcuffed the lawyer to the staircase and called 911. "Let's find your son." Kyle turned to Heather. Panic surging through her veins, Heather bolted upstairs and slowed down when she approached Mr. Murphy's car outside the cabin. Matt was tied inside. She freed and held him tightly, bursting into tears. The cops arrived and took Mr. Murphy with them. The next day, Heather visited Kyle in the hospital, where he was treated for the bullet injury on his leg. He apologized for their first meeting, and they started talking. Surprisingly, he asked her out on a date. If you hadn't suggested it, I would have brought it up myself, Heather chuckled. And hey, thank you for saving us. Tell us what you think about this story and share it with your friends. It might inspire them and brighten their day